The rain was falling hard that night. Cold drops hit the ground like tiny needles. The street was empty, silent, and dark. She stood outside the house, holding a small suitcase in her shaking hands. Her clothes were thin, her hair was wet, and her eyes were full of tears. Behind her, the door was still open. Warm light spilled out from inside. But that light was no longer meant for her. The man who once promised to protect her now stood at the door with a cold face. His voice was loud and sharp. "Get out," he said. "I don't want to see you here again." She looked at him, hoping this was a bad dream, hoping he would take those words back. But he did not. Behind him, another woman appeared. She was calm, well-dressed, and smiling softly. Her hand rested on the man's arm like she already owned him. The wife felt her heart break in silence. She did not scream. She did not beg. She only asked one question. "Why?" The man looked away. "She understands me," he said. "You never did." Those words hurt more than the cold rain, because she had given him everything. She remembered the early days, when they had nothing, when they shared small meals and big dreams, when he held her hand and promised she would never be alone. Now she was standing outside, with nowhere to go. Her phone was dead. Her wallet was empty, and the night felt endless. She took a small step back. The man's voice became harder. "You have 5 minutes, he said. "After that, I will call the police." 5 minutes. To leave a life she built for years. 5 minutes. To accept that love was replaced so easily. Her hands trembled as she opened her suitcase. Inside were a few clothes, an old photo, and an envelope she had kept hidden for a long time. She looked at that envelope. Her fingers paused. Her eyes filled with pain and strength at the same time. She placed it carefully back inside the bag and closed the zipper slowly. The other woman laughed softly. "Don't worry," she said. "I will take good care of him." The wife did not respond. She did not look at her, because she knew something they did not. She turned back to the man one last time. Her voice was quiet but clear. "I hope you never feel what I feel tonight." For a moment the man felt uncomfortable, but his pride was stronger than his heart. He closed the door without another word. The sound of the door echoed in the empty street, and with it something inside her changed. She walked away slowly, each step heavy, each breath painful. As she walked, memories followed her. Late nights waiting for him. Silent tears she never showed. Times she protected him when no one else did. She reached the corner of the street and stopped. The rain mixed with her tears, but her face showed dignity. She sat on a cold bench under a broken streetlight, holding her suitcase close, like it was the only thing left in the world. She opened the envelope just a little. Inside were official papers, stamped, signed, and important. She closed it again quickly. Not ready yet. Not tonight. Far away inside the warm house, the man laughed with his new choice, believing he had won, believing he had power. He did not know. This night was not her end. It was the beginning of something he could not stop. As the rain slowed down, she stood up, lifted her chin, and walked into the darkness. The silence around her was heavy, but her heart was no longer empty, because sometimes, when everything is taken away, the truth finally finds space to breathe. And he had no idea that throwing her out would soon cost him everything. The night did not feel real anymore. The wife walked without knowing where she was going. Her shoes were wet. Her hands were cold. But her mind was burning with thoughts she could not stop. Every step felt heavy, not because of the suitcase, but because of the memories she carried inside her heart. She passed closed shops, dark houses, and quiet streets, all while asking herself one question. How did love turn into this? She stopped near a small bus stop. The bench was old and broken. The light above it flickered like it was tired too. She sat down slowly, placed the suitcase beside her, and hugged her arms around herself. For the first time that night, she allowed herself to cry. Not loudly, not in anger, but in silence, the kind of crying no one notices. She remembered how she stood by him when he had nothing, how she defended him when his own family doubted him, how she stayed quiet when he slowly changed. She had felt the distance growing, the cold words, the late nights, But she never thought he would choose another woman so easily. Her phone buzzed suddenly. The screen lit up. 1% battery left. A missed call appeared. Unknown number. She stared at it. Her heart beat faster. Then the phone died completely. She sighed deeply. Tonight was full of endings. Across the city. Inside the warm house. The man sat comfortably, laughing with his mistress. He believed he was free now. Free from responsibility. Free from the woman who reminded him of his past struggles. The mistress poured herself a drink. She looked confident, like she had won something valuable. "You did the right thing," she said. "She was holding you back." The man nodded, trying to believe those words, trying to ignore the strange feeling in his chest. Back at the bus stop, the wife slowly opened her suitcase again. She took out the old photo. It showed her and the man years ago, smiling, happy, poor but hopeful. She looked at it for a long time, then gently folded it and placed it back inside. She reached for the envelope once more. Her fingers shook, but this time she opened it fully. Inside were documents, official, serious, with her name written clearly. She read them under the weak streetlight. Her face changed slowly. Pain was still there, but something else appeared too. Strength. She whispered softly to herself. They never knew. The envelope was not about money only. It was about truth. A truth she had hidden for years to protect everyone. She closed the envelope, placed it back carefully, and stood up. She did not feel weak anymore. She felt tired, but clear. She started walking again, this time with purpose. Meanwhile, the man checked his phone. A notification appeared from his bank. He frowned, tried to open it, but the app did not load. "It's probably nothing," he said, trying to laugh it off. But something was wrong. The mistress noticed his face. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Yes," he replied quickly, but his voice lacked confidence. Cross town. The wife reached a small, quiet building. She stopped in front of it, looked up at the sign, then took a deep breath. She knocked on the door softly. After a moment, an older woman opened it. Her eyes filled with concern when she saw the wife's condition. "Come in," the woman said gently. As the door closed behind her, the wife felt something she had not felt in a long time. Safety. She sat down inside, placed the suitcase near her feet, and rested her hands on her knees. For the first time that night, she was not outside, far away. The man lay in bed beside his mistress, but sleep would not come. His mind kept returning to the way his wife looked. Not angry, not begging, just quiet. He turned away, trying to forget. He did not know that while he slept in comfort, the woman he threw out was preparing to rise. And this time, silence would speak louder than words. Morning came slowly. Soft light entered the small room through a thin curtain. The wife opened her eyes. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then everything came back. The rain, the door closing, the silence. She sat up quietly. Her suitcase was still beside her, right where she left it. The older woman knocked gently and entered. She placed a cup of warm tea on the table. "You can rest here," she said kindly. "No one will ask questions." The wife nodded. Her throat felt tight. She had not spoken much since last night. After the woman left, she took a deep breath and reached for the envelope. This time, she did not hesitate. She opened it slowly and spread the papers on the bed. They were clear, official. Her name was printed in bold letters. She read every line again, even though she already knew the truth. Years ago, long before her marriage, her real story had begun. She was not born into an easy life. She grew up learning how to survive, how to stay quiet, how to protect herself. When she met her husband, she hid that past, not because she was ashamed, but because she wanted a simple life. She loved him for who he was then, a man with dreams but no direction. She believed they would grow together, but people change, and sometimes love changes too. Across the city, the man woke up late. Sunlight filled the room, but his mood was heavy. His mistress was already dressed, talking on the phone, laughing softly. He checked his phone again. More notifications appeared. Missed calls. Emails he did not understand. His bank balance looked strange. Numbers did not match what he expected. He rubbed his eyes. This must be a mistake, he said. The mistress glanced at him. You worry too much, she replied. Relax. But he could not relax. A strange fear started growing inside him. Back in the quiet room, the wife folded the papers carefully. Her hands were steady now. She remembered the warning she once received. If the truth ever comes out, everything will change. She chose silence back then. To protect her marriage. To protect him. She stood up and looked at herself in the small mirror. Her face looked tired. But her eyes were different. They were awake. She whispered softly, I stayed quiet long enough. Later that day, she stepped outside. The air felt fresh. Like a new beginning. She walked slowly down the street. People passed her, unaware of the storm building around her story. She entered a small office building. Simple, clean, professional. At the front desk, a young man looked up. Can I help you? He asked. Yes, she said calmly. I have an appointment. He checked the computer, then nodded. Please wait. Minutes later, a door opened. A man in a formal suit stepped out. Please come in, he said respectfully. She sat across from him, placed the envelope on the table, and pushed it forward. The man opened it carefully. His expression changed as he read. I was wondering when you would come, he said quietly. She looked at him, her voice steady. I did not want this. He nodded. I know. Meanwhile, the husband sat in his office, staring at his computer screen. A message popped up. Account temporarily restricted. His heart skipped. He stood up suddenly. This is impossible, he said loudly. His coworkers looked at him, confused. He called the bank. Then another number. Then another. No clear answers. Back in the meeting room, the man across from the wife spoke carefully. Once this moves forward, he said, there is no turning back. She closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. I know, she replied. She stood up, shook his hand, and walked out. As she stepped back into the sunlight, her phone buzzed. A new message appeared. Unknown number. It read, he is asking questions now. She did not reply. Across town, the husband sat alone, fear finally replacing confidence. He did not know yet that the woman he threw out was no longer silent. And when silence ends, truth does not knock. It breaks the door. The man sat alone in his office. The room felt smaller than usual. The walls looked closer, like they were listening to his thoughts. His computer screen showed the same message again. Account under review. He refreshed the page. Nothing changed. His fingers tapped the desk fast. His heart beat even faster. This was not how his day was supposed to start. Just a few days ago, he believed his life was finally perfect. No responsibility. No past. Only freedom. Now something invisible was tightening around him. His phone rang again. This time it was his manager. Come to my office, the voice said. Now. The man swallowed hard and stood up. As he walked down the hallway, every step felt heavy. People looked at him differently. Or maybe that was just his fear. Inside the manager's office, the air was cold. We received some documents, the manager said. They raised serious questions. The man frowned. What documents? The manager slid a file across the table. The man's hands shook as he opened it. He saw names, dates, and legal words he did not fully understand. But one thing was clear. This was real. This is temporary, the manager continued. But until it is cleared, we have to place you on leave. The man stood there in shock. On leave? Without warning. He left the office quietly, his confidence cracking with every step. At the same time, across the city, the wife sat in a quiet room again. This time not in fear, but in calm. She sat straight, her hands folded, her face serious. The man across from her spoke carefully. Things have started, he said. There will be reactions. She nodded slowly. I expected that. For a long time, she said, I carried the truth alone. He looked at her with respect. Most people would have used it earlier. She looked down for a moment. I loved him, she replied. Silence filled the room. When the meeting ended, she stepped outside. The sun was bright. The air felt lighter. She walked without rushing. She was no longer running from anything. Back at home, the man slammed the door behind him. The mistress looked up from the couch, confused. What happened? She asked. Nothing, he snapped. But his voice shook. She stood up slowly. You look worried. I said it's nothing, he repeated. But she did not believe him. Later that evening, she checked his phone while he showered. Her face changed when she saw the messages. Bank alerts, emails, missed calls. When he came back, she was standing there. What is this? She asked sharply. The man froze. It's temporary, he said quickly. Her smile faded. For how long? He did not answer. That silence told her everything. The next morning, the wife stood in front of a mirror. She wore simple clothes. Nothing expensive. Nothing loud. But there was something different about her. Confidence. She picked up her phone and made a call. Yes, she said. I am ready. Across town, the man sat at the kitchen table, holding his head. The mistress packed her bag quietly. I didn't sign up for this, she said. I need stability. You're leaving, he asked, shocked. She looked at him coldly. You already taught me how easy it is to walk away. The door closed again, just like it had before. This time, he was the one left in silence. That afternoon, the wife walked into a large building. People greeted her politely, some with surprise, some with respect. Whispers followed her steps. That's her. I heard about her. She remained calm. Inside a meeting room, important faces waited. One of them stood up. We owe you an apology, he said. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply nodded. Far away, the man sat alone in his dark living room. The house felt empty, too quiet. His phone buzzed. A notification appeared. Legal hearing scheduled. His hands dropped to his sides. For the first time, he understood something clearly. Throwing her out did not make him powerful. It exposed him. And while he was losing everything piece by piece, the woman he once ignored was standing taller than ever. But this was not the end. It was only the moment before the truth became public. The house felt empty now. Not quiet in a peaceful way, but quiet like something important was missing. The man sat on the edge of the couch. His phone lay in his hand. The screen was dark, just like his thoughts. For the first time in years, no one asked him how his day was. No one waited for him. No one cared if he came home or not. He looked around the room. The same room where he once shouted. The same door he once closed without regret. Now regret sat beside him. Heavy and silent. He remembered her face that night. Not angry. Not weak. Just calm. That calm scared him now. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, life moved on. Cars passed. People laughed. The world did not stop when he destroyed his own home. Across the city, the wife sat in a quiet cafe, a small cup of coffee in front of her, untouched. She listened carefully as the woman across from her spoke. Once this goes public, the woman said, your name will be everywhere. The wife nodded slowly. I am not afraid, she replied. She had lived in silence for so long. Noise did not scare her anymore. She looked down at her hands. They were steady. No shaking. No fear. That alone told her how far she had come. Back at the empty house, the man picked up his phone again. He typed her name, then erased it. Typed it again, then stopped. What could he even say now? I'm sorry felt too small. I was wrong felt too late. He finally pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, then stopped. No answer. His chest felt tight. He placed the phone down slowly. This was the silence he gave her. Now it was his turn to live inside it. Later that day, he received a letter. Not an email. Not a message. A real letter. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was an official notice. Clear words. Clear date. Public hearing scheduled. His name was written there, along with hers. He sat down heavily. The paper slipped from his hands. Across town, the wife received an envelope too. She opened it calmly. Read it once. Then folded it neatly. She had expected this moment. That evening, she stood in front of a mirror. She did not dress to impress. She dressed to be herself. Simple clothes, clean face, strong eyes. She whispered softly, "I survived worse." At the same time, the man walked through the house, touching old things. A photo frame, a chair, a wall she once painted. Memories attacked him. Loving moments. Hard days. Time she protected him without asking for credit. He finally understood something painful. She was never weak. She was patient. And patience, once broken, does not come back. The next morning, news started spreading. Whispers at work. Messages online. Questions without answers. The man avoided calls. Avoided people. Avoided mirrors. The mistress did not return. Not even a message. He sat alone at the kitchen table. The same place where he once made big decisions. This time, he had no power left to decide. Across the city, the wife walked into a building with calm steps. People noticed her now, not with pity, but with curiosity. She is the one. I heard her story. She did not react. She kept walking. Inside a quiet room, she sat and waited. For the first time, she was not waiting for someone else's choice. She was waiting for her own moment. Back in the empty house, the man sat in darkness. His phone buzzed once more. A message appeared. Tomorrow changes everything. He stared at the screen, fear filling his chest. Because deep down, he knew one truth now. He did not lose her when he chose another woman. He lost her the moment he stopped respecting her. And tomorrow, the world would finally see what silence had been hiding for years. The building was full that morning. Too full, too loud, too serious. People sat in neat rows. Some curious, some judgmental, some already choosing sides. The man entered slowly, his shoulders heavy, his face pale. Every step felt like a reminder. This was no longer private. He saw people whisper as he passed. Phones held low, eyes watching him carefully. He took a seat near the front, his hands clenched together. Across the room, the wife entered calmly. She did not rush. She did not look around for approval. She walked with quiet confidence, like someone who had nothing left to hide. Some people recognized her instantly. Others looked again, trying to match the calm woman with the story they heard. She sat down, placed her bag beside her, and waited. The room slowly became quiet. The judge entered. Voices stopped. Eyes moved forward. The hearing began. The man listened, but the words felt distant, like they were spoken through water. Then her name was called. The wife stood up. Her heart beat steady. Her hands relaxed at her sides. She walked to the front. For a moment, the man looked at her. He expected anger, or pride, or revenge. But he saw none of that. He saw peace. She spoke clearly, her voice soft but strong. "I stayed silent for many years," she said. "Not because I was weak, but because I believed silence could protect love." The room listened closely. She continued, "I gave up chances, truth, and safety to protect a marriage that no longer protected me." The man lowered his head. Documents were passed forward, one by one. The envelope, the papers, the proof. Whispers filled the room again. The judge read carefully. Faces changed. Eyes widened. The truth was clear now. The wife had hidden more than pain. She had hidden power. The man felt his chest tighten. His past decisions now standing against him. He stood up suddenly, trying to speak. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear." His voice cracked. The judge raised a hand. "Sit down." The room went silent again. Across the room, the wife did not look at him. Not out of anger, but out of release. She had already moved past the need to explain herself to him. As the hearing continued, more details came out. Decisions he made. Documents he signed without reading. Benefits he enjoyed without understanding their source. The man realized something painful. He did not just lose his wife. He had lived on her sacrifice. Outside the building, news spread fast. Cameras waited. Voices asked questions. Inside, the final words were spoken. The judge looked directly at the man. Actions have consequences, he said. The man felt the weight of those words. They pressed down on him harder than any punishment. When the hearing ended, people stood up slowly. Some looked at the wife with respect, others with surprise. She walked out calmly, head high, step steady. Outside, the noise hit her. Cameras, questions, lights. She stopped for a moment, then spoke only one sentence. Silence was my choice. Truth is my freedom. She walked away. Across the steps, the man stood frozen. The world he controlled had collapsed in public. No doors to close. No voices to silence. Only reality. As he watched her leave, he understood something too late. Throwing her out did not erase her value. It exposed his blindness. And while the world now knew her truth, his own future had become uncertain. But the story was not finished yet, because the hardest moment was still coming, a moment where forgiveness, or final separation, would be decided. The building slowly emptied. People walked away with stories to tell, opinions to share, and judgments already made. The wife stood outside under the open sky. The air felt different now, lighter, like a weight had finally been lifted. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the noise fade, letting the past loosen its grip. Behind her, footsteps stopped. She did not turn around. She already knew who it was. The man stood a few steps away. Not angry, not proud, just tired. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. She opened her eyes, took a slow breath, then turned to face him. She did not say yes right away, but she did not say no either. They stood there in silence. The same silence that once lived inside their home. But this time, it belonged to her. "I never wanted this," he said, his voice low, almost broken. She looked at him calmly. "You wanted freedom," she replied, "and you chose it." He shook his head slowly. "I didn't know what I was choosing." "That is the problem," she said. "You never asked." Those words hit him harder than anger ever could. They walked a short distance and stopped near a quiet corner, away from cameras, away from strangers. "I destroyed everything," he said, his hands shaking. She watched him closely, not with joy, not with hate, but with understanding. "You destroyed trust," she replied, "and trust does not rebuild itself." He looked at her eyes, searching for something, hope, forgiveness. "I am sorry," he whispered. She nodded once. "I know." That answer confused him. "I know you are sorry," she continued, "but being sorry does not mean going back." The man swallowed hard. "Is there any chance?" he asked. She paused, not because she was unsure, but because she wanted her words to be honest. "For years," she said softly, "I stayed quiet so you could stand tall." She took a step back. "Today, I stood tall for myself." Silence returned. But this time, it was final. He felt it then. The truth he had avoided. She was not punishing him. She was choosing herself. "I don't hate you," she said. "That would be easy." "I forgive you," she added. "That took time." He looked up quickly, hope flashing in his eyes. "But forgiveness," she continued, "is not permission." That hope faded. She turned slightly, looking toward the street ahead. "I need a life where I am not invisible," she said. "And that life does not include going backward." The man nodded slowly, his shoulders dropping. For the first time, he understood that losing her was not about another woman or a mistake. It was about respect he never learned to protect. "I hope you heal," she said quietly. He looked at her. "I already lost you," he replied. "I just didn't know it then." She gave a small nod, a goodbye without drama. She walked away, not fast, not slow, just steady. Each step carried peace instead of pain. Behind her, the man remained still, watching her disappear into the crowd. He felt the truth settle deep inside him. Some endings are not loud. They do not scream or fight. They simply close the door gently. so it can never be opened again. As she reached the end of the street, her phone buzzed softly. A message appeared. Everything is ready. She looked at the screen, then up at the sky. For the first time in a long while, she smiled. Not because she won, but because she was free. Behind her, the man finally turned away, alone with the lesson he would carry forever. And ahead of her, a new chapter waited. One built on dignity, truth, and strength. But one final moment still remained. A final choice that would close this story forever. The city moved like it always did. Cars passed. People hurried. Life continued. But for her, everything felt different now. The wife stood in front of a quiet building. Simple from the outside, strong on the inside. She placed her hand on the door for a moment, not out of fear, but out of respect for the journey that brought her here. She stepped inside. The room was calm, bright, full of soft voices and steady steps. People greeted her with polite smiles, not because of her past, but because of who she had become. She took a seat at the table, placed her bag down, and waited. Across the city, the man sat alone in the same house. The silence was louder than ever. No voices, no arguments, no doors to slam, just space, and too much time to think. He stared at the wall, at the spot where a photo once hung, a photo he had taken down in anger. Now he could not remember why he thought removing it would remove his guilt. He picked up his phone, scrolled through old messages, laughs, plans, promises. He stopped at one message. I believe in you. He closed his eyes. Back in the meeting room, a man stood and spoke clearly. Everything has been finalized, he said. The process is complete. She nodded calmly. No smile. No tears. This moment did not need celebration. When the meeting ended, she walked outside into the sunlight. The sky was clear, open, like the future waiting ahead. She took a deep breath. For years, her strength lived in silence. Now it lived in choice. She walked down the street. People passed her. Some recognized her. Most did not. And that was okay. She was no longer defined by who left her. She was defined by who she refused to become. Across town, the man stood up suddenly, as if waking from a long sleep. He looked around the house one last time. This place is not home, he whispered. He picked up his coat and keys, not knowing where he was going, only knowing he could not stay. That night, she returned to the small place she now called home. She placed her bag down, sat by the window, and watched the city lights glow. Her phone buzzed softly. A message appeared. You did well today. She smiled gently, not with pride, but with peace. She thought about the woman she once was, the one who stayed quiet to survive, and the woman she was now, the one who spoke through action. Across the city, the man sat alone in a quiet bar. He watched other people laugh, couples talk, hands touch. He realized something painful. Love does not leave suddenly. It leaves slowly. Each time respect is ignored. He lowered his head, finally understanding the cost of his choices. Days passed. News faded. Whispers stopped. Attention moved on. But inside her, something permanent had changed. She woke up one morning, stood in front of the mirror, and smiled. Not because life was perfect, but because it was honest. She stepped outside, feeling the sun on her face. For the first time in years, she was not afraid of silence, because silence no longer meant pain. It meant peace. Far away, the man packed his last box, leaving the house empty. As he closed the door, he paused, not in anger, not in regret, but in understanding. Some lessons arrive too late, but they arrive all the same. As the door closed, the sound echoed softly, not like a loss, but like an ending that could not be changed. And somewhere across the city, the woman he once threw out was walking forward, not looking back, because her tears were no longer silent. They had turned into strength, and strength once found never asks for permission again. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Silent Family Tears, because some stories are felt, not heard.